This week's question on Let's Talk Squash could be incredibly pertinent depending on when you're listening to it or watching this, sorry. The question is simple. What is it that would stop you from playing squash? Now, at the time of this recording, COVID-19 is not over, because that certainly would be a silly thing to say, but it's at the point where most places in Europe are allowing their squash courts and indoor sporting facilities to resume within limitations. So people are actually getting back on court. In other parts of the world, I can't say for sure, because I think a lot depends on the situation in that part of the world. So there's no, global guideline. Now, back in 2002, I stopped playing squash. I'd had enough. I'd sort of reached up here. It sort of got to me. I'd stopped coaching. I'd stopped playing. I moved to the Basque Country and I completely changed my job. I was away from squash. I'd reached the point where I said I wanted a break. And that break lasted for 13 years. I didn't play squash. I didn't do any squash type training. I didn't watch squash on TV. Completely forgot about it. And then, for various reasons, about 7 years ago, I got back into it. And I didn't miss it during that time. But then I was reintroduced to it, and then I realised I missed it. But that kind of works backwards, that sometimes you're into something, and then it stops, for example, because of the pandemic, and then you realise, maybe I don't miss it so much. So that's the question. And I saw something on Reddit, which was a person saying that he or she, I think it was a he, was saying, I'm not going to go back to squash. I enjoy playing squash, but this break has shown me, and I can't remember the exact reasons, that maybe I don't miss it as much as I thought I did, or I would, or that I wasn't enjoying it as much, and the break showed me that. So there's one reason, that you're sort of forced to take a break for a little while. And then when you can play, you think, well, do I really want to? I'm not missing it as much. So we might be playing out of habit. Somebody calls us every week and say, you coming this week? Yeah, okay, I'll come this week. I haven't got anything else to do. And then you go and play. But then there's a break and you think, do you want to play this week? Maybe not. Now, another reason for a break could be an injury. You might get injured. It might necessitate a longer period of a break than you've ever had before. And when you come back, or when you're able to come back, you say to yourself, no, I don't want to take any chances. I don't want to injure my body. I mean, I don't want to sound too negative, but any sport that you play to excess is bad for your body. Any sport. So anybody who tells you, oh, swimming is the best sport, if you train excessively for swimming, you won't be doing your body very much good. No activity that pushes your body too far. And if you're the kind of person who plays 4 times a week and does a lot of training, you're not doing your body a lot of good. You're getting fitter, but when you get older, you will suffer for it in some way most of the time. So recreational squash is great, but anything too much is not good for you, as with any sport. So maybe you've taken a break because of injury and you say, I'm not going to come back. What other reasons could there be? Well, cost. I mean, perhaps the price of squash goes up and you decide, well, I think I need to cut down. I mean, everybody is in a situation, or a lot of people are in situations where they need to budget their money carefully. Maybe they've lost their job, they've lost the number of hours. They might not have as much expendable income, and that would be absolutely a concern. Luckily, where I live, squash is fairly reasonably priced. I pay €1.45 for as long as I want in the mornings, and it's as long as I want because there's nobody else playing, but I think it's for 45 minutes. It's a little more expensive in the afternoon or in the evenings, but I don't think it's particularly much more. It's maybe €4 to play for 45 minutes. Now, in some places, squash can be expensive, but lots of other sports are expensive and people still play those. So would that be a reason for you to stop when it got to a point? Now, of course, you have to replace rackets every few years. You have to restring them sometimes, grips and balls. So there are other costs, shoes, of course, and kit. There are always costs involved, but no sport is free. I challenge you to tell me a sport that is free. You have to pay for equipment. So before you tell me I can go running for free, yeah, you can, but you've got to buy running shoes. Yeah, I suppose you could go running barefoot, but who does? So, okay, so that's a challenge to you. Now, maybe you're forced to stop. And I'm not sure if I've told this story before, but when I was coaching in London, one of my pupils was an 80-ish year old man. I have this 84 in my mind, but that might not be right. But he was definitely 80-ish. And he came to me once a week and we just hit some balls and practiced. He moved around a bit. We played some games, but they weren't like full court games. And then one day he tripped over and he hit his head against a side wall. And I was so upset about the whole thing. I mean, in this case, he was okay. And it wasn't like a really serious hit, but he tripped a little bit and he did hit his head. And after that, the next time he came, I told him, I'm sorry, this is the last class. I can't, in all consciousness, play. I can't coach you because I'm too nervous you're going to have an accident and you're going to hit yourself, and I don't want you to do that. And he was incredibly nice about it. He told me, okay, I understand, Philip, thank you very much. And and I still think about it today. Was I right to tell him that he can't play anymore? What right do I have to tell somebody, no, you can't play? I mean, I didn't tell him he can't play, I just told him he can't play with me. And he didn't come to the club for any other reason, so maybe he went somewhere else. But maybe a medical professional tells you, no, you can't do this. My surgeon told me I must never, ever go on court again after having my hip replaced. And I'm like, okay. But of course, I'm going to go back and hit some balls, hopefully. I'm not going to play. So maybe there's another one. Okay. So again, I've been talking. The question, what is it that would make you stop playing squash? Is it any other reason that I haven't mentioned? Tell me. Okay, so there you have the question for this week. I hope that it's of interest to you. Please post your comments in the comments section. On the screen at the moment is a subscription button. If and only if you think my content is useful, please consider subscribing. On the screen also is a playlist of all of the other Let's Talk videos for you to go through them, and also a video that YouTube thinks is a good fit for you based on what you've been watching. And remember, do something every single day to improve your squash. See ya.